Voters in the city of San Diego have a proposition on the November ballot which promises to bring in an extra $100 million to the deficit-ridden general fund by raising the city sales tax by half a cent. And before the sales tax can go into effect, 10 conditions have to be met. Well, according to a Citizens Budget Task Force, those conditions need more teeth. With me to explain the recommended changes is the task force's chairman, Vince Mudd. Okay, Vince, so how does the task force want to revise the conditions before the sales tax can go into effect?
Well, first, the sales tax should have been enough money to resolve the structural budget deficit, which is $73 million. However, the true deficit for the city of San Diego is $118 million because they're not currently funding retiree health. And they should. They know it's an expense. They're not funding it. So the number is $118 million is the structural budget deficit.
So how did the business community come up with a different take on how much money is the deficit compared to the city?
Because I don't believe the city of San Diego did the same analysis that we did. What we did was we figured out, based on your revenues and expense projections over the next 5 years, how much money do you need to balance your structural budget deficit? Well, over that 5-year period, they need $900 million more than they currently have identified in their budget. So a sales tax increase for 5 years brings in $550 million. That leaves you with a deficit of $350 million. If you divide that deficit by $350 million, it means that your reforms have to save you an additional $73 million in expenses for the 5-year period.
An average of 73
An average
million,
of 73.
a total of $550 million.
A total of $350 million.
$350 million, okay.
Right.
So these numbers are big. That's a big difference between what the mayor and council are asking for and what the task force has come up with. So are they embracing those changes?
It looks like they've looked at our analysis. We have financial analysis. We have our spreadsheets that back it up. We're using their numbers, and we're using the numbers that are publicly available. It looks like they realize that, yes, in fact, we do need $900 million, and we understand that we have a sales tax increase we're talking about. So now we have to identify $73 million in cost reduction. So now at least they have a value target of the reforms.
So does that $73 million that has to be reduced, are you saying that that has to be reduced before we go into the polling booth in November and vote on this thing?
What we're saying is they have to identify a plan that shows how they're going to reduce the $73 million. Prop D as written does not, it provides surety that there'll be a tax increase, but it doesn't provide surety that you'll get $73 million in reform savings. They have to show you how they're going to do that.
But I thought that they're going to be 10 conditions. Isn't one of the conditions how they're going to save money?
One of the conditions, for example, says reduce. It doesn't say by how much. So you can't honestly tell yourself, well, do I know for a fact that this reduce will get me to the structural deficit? So Prop D as written doesn't do it for you. There have to be additional actions by the city council, and the council can act to provide more security or more surety on the value of these reforms. You can't change the ballot language, but they can have additional council action.
Are you giving them a deadline? Is there a deadline by which they have to provide this surety?
We told them, what we suggested was, yes, the deadline is before the absentee ballots go out, for the simple reason the public needs to know that they have a plan. The current language of Prop D is not reassuring to the public, so they have to show by their actions, not their words, that they have a way of eliminating the structural budget deficit once and for all.
So finally, Vince, if this doesn't happen, if they don't come up with that plan by the time that the absentee ballots go out, will the business community not support Proposition D?
I can't speak for the entire business community, but what I can say is that right now, as written, as Prop D is written right now, many in the business community will not support it. If these actions occur, not in words, but in actual deeds, something that's codified that you can put your hands around and arms around, and it fixes the structural budget deficit, there will be people in the business community that will support it.
Thank you very much, Vince Mudd.
All right, thank you.